نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Prostration of forgetfulness, sajdatul sahw. There are certain mistakes which are excused in prayer. There are certain which are not excused at all unless they are done. There are certain mistakes could be compensated for. So there are about 3 different types of mistakes in the prayer. The mistakes which are omitting a sunnah, for example. Omitting a sunnah is not desirable. One should try and perform prayer according to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But certain sunnah acts, if one missed for any reason, either forgetfully or knowingly, does not nullify or invalidate the prayers. For example, saying tasbih 3 times. Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. Saying Rabbana lakal hamd, for example. And there are certain which you missed, then you can compensate for by extra 2 prostrations at the end of the prayer before you conclude it. And these are wajibat of the prayer. The compulsory of activities or actions. So compulsory acts of the prayer, or wajib you may call it. It's better to call it wajib. If you miss any of those, then you have to perform 2 sajda at the end, and thereby you would be able to save your prayer. The prayer would be valid. And there are certain actions you cannot do without performing those actions, which are fard action, obligatory action. They're similar, but they have more emphasis. You cannot do without. So let's go for those first, for which there is no compensation and you have to perform that. There are 6 of those. They are called arkan, some will call it fara'id. So these are the essentials of prayer. So takbir al-tahrima, the beginning or opening takbir, saying Allahu Akbar at the beginning of the prayer, is takbir al-tahrima. That is a rukun according to one way of looking at things. Some would consider it to be a condition which is similar. Same ruling applies. You still have to do it. Then qiyam is the second one, where you stand up in each rakat at the beginning. Third is qira'ah, recitation of Quran. Some recitation, mere recitation per se, without specifying anything. Fourth is ruku', bowing down. Fifth is sajda, which is prostration. And then qada akhira, sitting in the final rakat before salam. So these are 6 essentials of the prayer, without which the prayer will not be valid unless one perform them. Even if they've forgotten it right at the end before saying salam, they remember it, and if they said those, then their prayer would still be valid, but they would have to do 2 extra sajda to save their prayer. So for example, if you miss your ruku in the 3rd rakat and you remembered before saying salam, or just straight after saying salam, or before getting up and moving away, then you went straight into that ruku that you missed, and after doing it, you have to do your 2 prostrations. Prostration of forgetfulness, because you've forgotten to do that fard action, which you have now performed. But since doing it now would still be a mistake of changing the order of the prayer, which is wajib. The wajibat of whole prayer are 2. One is performing everything every action in order. So here you broke the order by doing your ruku of the third rakat right at the end. So which means that you have not kept the order. And if you do not keep the order of the prayer, you have missed a wajib. So to miss a wajib, you have to do prostration of forgetfulness, sajdatu sahw, and that would save your prayer. Now, what are the wajibat? There are certain wajibat which are part of the prayer, as you could see. So after ruku, when you stand up in prayer for a brief period, it's called qawma, where you say Sami Allahu liman hamida and Rabbana lakal hamd. Saying that is sunnah, but to stand up for that short while is wajib. So if someone missed that, they went straight from ruku into sajda without standing up properly, even for a couple of seconds, then they have missed a wajib. They must compensate this by 2 prostrations right at the end. And if they didn't, then their prayer is invalid because they've missed a wajib in the prayer. Then between 2 sajda, when they sit down after the first sajda, it's called jalsa, little sitting, a brief sitting. In that, you don't have to say Rabbi ghfirli, but if you said it, that's good. Or another dua, Rabbi ghfirli, Allahumma ghfirli wa liwali, Allahumma ghfirli warhamni wajburni warfani wahdini wa'afini warzuqni, or any other dua that you know of, or even sitting there quietly. That sitting is wajib. So if you miss that, you would need to make prostration of forgetfulness. You don't have to now sit down for this, but just 2 prostrations. Likewise, you missed your qada ula in 4 rakat prayer or in 3 rakat prayer. Sitting in the second rakat is wajib. So rather than sitting, you stood up and carried on. You have to do sajda sahw at the end because you missed a wajib which was sitting in the second rakat. Likewise, saying salam right at the end, you forgot about that and you just got up and moved away. You have missed your wajib. Likewise, your recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha, a surah afterwards in the first 2 rakat of fard prayer and all rakat of sunnah and nafil prayer. Keeping the order of Surah Fatiha first, then another surah. Witr and qunut of the witr is wajib as well. Takbirat of Eidain is wajib as well. So there are few wajibat that one needs to make sure that they haven't missed. Likewise, not delaying any wajib for any unnecessary or not obligatory stuff. For example, sitting in tashahhud, at-tahiyyat, and sitting for longer than expected and delaying the next rak'at qiyam, which is the rukun, which is standing up again in the third rakat, but in second rakat they just sat there for long period, delaying and keep thinking and delaying, and that is missing a wajib as well. So anyway, so all those wajibat one can compensate for by doing extra 2 sajdas at the end of the prayer, and then obviously after 2 sajda they would say tashahhud again, at-tahiyyat up to the end, and then salam on both sides. And there's difference of opinion according to other imams, where they would do sajda sahab in a different way, slightly different way, but both ways are perfectly fine. In fact, all 3 ways are completely fine according to the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the only difference between the fard and the wajib is that for wajib, even if you missed it, you can compensate by doing extra 2 sajdas, sajda sahw. But for fard, those 6 integral actions, you have to do those actions and then sajda sahw. Sajda sahw for misplacing it, breaking the order, and for fard, you have to do the fard regardless of wherever you are in your prayer. I hope it clarifies, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.